Back. You're watching Your World at 10. Now, the 19th Commonwealth Games concluded this evening, and India's athletes put in their best ever performance. 38 gold medals and a total of 101 medals. That's including the silvers and the bronzes. For the last 2 weeks, we woke up with newspaper pictures of athletes that you and I did not know about the previous day. Athletes who are now national heroes. So all the controversies aside and all the shame that we faced with regards to different hygiene standards, have these games been a success, at least in popularizing sports that go beyond cricket and hockey? Well, joining us to discuss that tonight, Samar Harlankar, editor-at-large of the Hindustan Times, and Manisha Malhotra, administrator of the Mittal Champions Trust, which was set up by Lakshmi Mittal in 2005 to prepare Indian athletes for the 2012 London Olympics. Let me start with you, Samar, first, because at least as a media person, this was my reaction. I don't follow the sports news that closely, and if I ever do follow it, it's almost always about cricket, sometimes about hockey. But the last 10 days, it's been a pleasure to wake up to the morning papers and see a variety of new sports stars emerge from this Commonwealth Games. Some of them that we've known before, the shooters, Abhinav Bindra, Gagan, the wrestlers, we knew a few, the boxing stars, we knew a few. But we've had, lovely revelations in the track and field, in discus throwing. What did you make of the kind of coverage that these stars got and the kind of response maybe you've seen from readers on a whole new bevy of sporting stars?
I think people have just been delighted to go beyond cricket. It's just that they didn't know there was anything beyond cricket, and we in the media have been pleasantly surprised to offer this to readers. That's been fantastic. I would even go so far to say that boxing might well be the new cricket, given our stars, given their flamboyance, and given the great interest in boxing. And yes, we've seen this whole range of new stars emerge from the backwaters of India, as it were, and that is pretty much in line with everything else that has happened across India. With economic growth, new stars have come from people who have been given to that extra bit of striving from backwater little towns and villages, and we're seeing that now in sports as well.
Samar, in fact, I want to bring up a picture, I think, of the Hindustan Times cover page, and this one has Sachin as a side note. This is the day after Sachin scored his 49th Test century, and the centerpiece is, in fact, the sporting stars of the Commonwealth Games. Now, I know it takes a lot in this country for cricket to sort of be on the sidelines, but do you think that we did achieve some of that in this game?
We did indeed. And it was very nice to be able to do that as well, though I didn't actually put the paper to bed. But I think in newspapers across the country and in television studios as well, I think there was a great euphoria over this, over the ability to put cricket to one side, to celebrate that as well, but at the same time have something else to celebrate.
Manisha, what do you make of the bevy of new sporting stars that India seems to have discovered over the course of the last 10 days?
Well, I mean, as a sports lover and someone who's very deeply involved in Indian sport, for me, of course, these last couple of weeks or whatever has been unbelievable. But I knew a lot of these athletes and a few select people around the country who maybe, were as obsessed with sport knew about them. But I'm so thrilled that these guys have got, a platform finally for people to actually, just notice all the hard work they've been putting in. And these guys have become icons in their states and in their little villages. And so it bodes very, very well for the future. And, if we can get hundreds of little more kids to take up athletics and table tennis and even lawn bowls, which is a sport that none of us had ever even seen before, including myself, I think soon, maybe at least in my lifetime, we can see the same medal tally at the Olympics.
Well, medal tally is one thing, Manisha, but simply, the ability to inspire more people to sport. Do you think that the coverage of the last 10 days could go some way in doing that, especially in the variety of sport that's been showcased at the Commonwealth Games?
Absolutely. I mean, it's been a game of the athletes. The lead up to the game was nothing very positive, and there was a lot of apprehension. But the minute the opening ceremony finished, and it's the complete mood changed. And even for us, just coming out of the opening ceremony, it was an overwhelming experience. And then sport took over, and these athletes performed unbelievably well. It's, some people seem to overlook how tough it really is to perform in your home crowd and the pressure that you're carrying on your shoulders. But these guys did phenomenally well, and a good example of that would be the athletics. I mean, even I never dreamed they would win a gold medal. So, these guys we owe it to these guys, and I think that if sport in our country is going to grow, this is going to be the first step.
Samar, you and me know media really, really well. Today's headline is so quickly forgotten tomorrow. What is the sustainability of several of these sporting stars? Cricket will, of course, outlive all of them. But do you believe that we will continue as a media to follow them over the course of their careers over the next, at least up to 2012 Olympics, so to speak, of course, the Asian Games as well?
I don't know if we will, but it is something that we must. And I think this is something that will determine our future as a sporting nation. I mean, let me be very clear. We are not a sporting nation, and this result, fantastic though it is, does not mean it's a sporting nation. I think there are three things that a sporting nation requires. One is self-confidence, one is striving, and one is a little bit of style. Now, we have a lot of self-confidence. I'd give us a 6 or 7 on 10. As far as striving goes, I would say a 6 or 7 on 10. And style goes, I'd give us a 9 on 10. A lot of us sports people have lots of style, but we have not yet, reached the relentless striving that is required to make ourselves a sporting nation. Australia has that, and you could see that when they wiped us out this morning, 8-love in the hockey. Nothing fazed them. The heat didn't faze them. The sheer athleticism and their sporting genes just took them through. We haven't yet reached there, so this is great, but we really need to build on this. We in the media need to build on it. Our sports authorities need to build on it, and our sportsmen themselves need to build on this.
But do you think, Samar, this in a sense, reduces, or at least this points to maybe a trend of the media's sort of obsession over cricket, maybe reducing, only marginally so, if at all, and our ability to widen, sort of the sport that we follow, the stars that we create, to several other spheres or aspects of sport as well?
Well, the media goes where the news is. So take boxing, for example. A lot of these, we know boxing was doing well. We knew that we had some stars. We didn't know we had this many stars. But the point is, now what? Are there tournaments now? Is there a fighting league? There is a boxing league that's planned. All this will now determine how we cover sports and how much sports reaches us, out there. The problem is that we do not have professionally managed leagues, and that is why countries like New Zealand, Canada, Australia, of course, have so much about sports in the media simply because they have so many leagues, professionally managed leagues, that they can offer to viewers. We don't have those leagues. We don't have that kind of infrastructure yet, and we don't have that kind of commitment from sponsors and the organizational skills to make sport a sustainable affair, as we have with cricket.
Fair point. Manisha, come in here. Is this a flash in the pan, or do you believe that because of the publicity, the coverage that several of our new sports stars have received over the course of the last 10 days of the games, that it could enhance their commercial viability? It will mean that several more of them, besides cricketers in this country and a few hockey stars, will have access to the right kind of funding, the right kind of training, and therefore can go on to improve their careers.
I hope so. I mean, in a sheer business perspective, I think these athletes right now, at least, will get you a lot of mileage for a fraction of the cost that the cricketers would. But going back to what Samar said, I think I completely agree with him. And if sport in India, you want to develop a sporting culture, the only way to do that is with a thriving domestic league. And obviously, a domestic league would have to be run professionally. And yes, maybe, we've not done that in the past. But I think the first step for a domestic league is to be able to produce world-class athletes, not just one athlete, but many. And I think boxing, wrestling, now even athletics has proved that.
Are you going to be backing several of these gold medalist winners in their quest for perhaps another gold at the 2012 Olympics?
I already am, and that process started about in 2005. So
now, are you widening the scope based on some of the results that we've had in these games? Would you be widening the scope? Are you taking on more athletes?
Sure. Yeah, for sure. I think that there are a lot more athletes that have achieved a lot in the last year and a half that even I probably didn't miss and I hadn't expected. And, I think the next 2 years are huge. We have an Asian Games coming up in 2 weeks.
Right.
And next year is full of World Championships and Olympic qualifiers. So they will get a lot more media than they have in the last couple of years for sure.
And a lot more support as well, considering the kind of success they've had in these games. Manisha, final question then.
Yeah.
The Commonwealth Games has brought us a lot of shame, a lot of agony before it started, a lot of unhappiness, big questions about corruption. Where did all the money go? If it was to have any success, could this be the success that the Games have seen? The fact that it has widened our horizons with regards to the kind of sports stars we have in the country?
Absolutely, and I think that it's the sheer inertia of the people and the athletes themselves who kind of took it in their stride. And I have athletes who never complained with all the things going on around them, never let it disturb their training, and went out there and gave their hearts out. So all credit to them, and I think that it's important. There may be a lot of negatives, but I think we should focus on the positives and the reason for having these games, which is our athletes and improving the sport in the country. So I do believe that we've achieved that.
Samar, do you agree that if there's anything the Games has achieved, it's this, that we now have many more stars to contend with?
We do indeed, but like as Manisha said, we really need to build on this. If we don't build on this, it's very easy to slip back into where we were originally. The only other thing I'd like to say is that we have all this. The only thing that we really now need to gain is a sporting spirit. I attended lots of games and I was dismayed to see the lack of sporting spirit we showed. There was great support for India and it was terrific to see that, but I'm afraid we were very miserly when it came to applause for opponents, and lots of athletes from other countries noticed this. And if you really want to be a sporting power, I think this is one thing we really need to gain very quickly, is a sporting spirit.
All right, Samar, Manisha, we'll leave it there. Lots of lessons learned at this Commonwealth Games and lots of lovely memories as well, besides the different hygiene standards code that will stay with us for several more years. Thanks very much for joining us on this.